Okay, let's talk about investing. It's 2025, you've probably got some money saved up, and you just know you should be doing something with it, right? But where do you even start? Well, we're going to cut through all that noise and figure this out together.
I mean, the second you start looking, you're just bombarded. You've got stocks, crypto, NFTs, even fine art. And every guru on the internet is yelling about day trading and Forex. It is a crazy, overwhelming world of options, and it feels like you need a finance degree just to understand what's going on.
And then you have the biggest hurdle of all, that fear. That very real feeling in your gut that if you make one wrong move, all the money you've worked so hard to save could just vanish. Honestly, that thought is enough to make most people just stop right there.
But here's the thing. What if the biggest risk you can take is doing nothing at all? So let's talk about why your savings are actually shrinking and the real reason you need to start investing. The secret enemy here is something we call inflation. You can think of it like this silent, invisible force that is constantly eating away at your money. So that cash that's just sitting in your bank account, every single year, it's losing its power to actually buy stuff. Let me give you a super simple example. Imagine you have $1,000 saved up right now. Great. You can go out and buy a brand new MacBook Air. But if you just let that cash sit there, in a few years, that same MacBook might cost $1,200. Your $1,000 is still $1,000, but it can't buy the MacBook anymore. You have actually gotten poorer without losing a single penny. And that right there is the whole point of investing. It's not about getting rich overnight. It's not about gambling. The simple goal is to make your money grow faster than inflation is shrinking it. It's about defense, not just offense. It's about protecting the value of your hard work.
So, okay, how do we actually fight back against this? Let's simplify the biggest and most common option out there, the stock market. We're just going to cut through all the confusing parts.
First off, what even is a stock? It's really simple. It's just a tiny, tiny piece of ownership in a company. So when you buy a share of, say, Amazon, you're not just buying a number on a screen. You are literally becoming a part owner of Amazon. So as a part owner, how do you get paid? Well, there are two main ways. The first one is called appreciation. That just means the price of your piece of the company goes up and you can sell it for more than you bought it for. Simple. The second way is dividends. That's when the company does well and decides to share some of its profits directly with its owners, which is you. Okay, so this all leads to a really powerful strategy, and it's a game changer for beginners. It's what I like to call the don't pick strategy. It basically solves the hardest part about getting started. Because this is the question that stops everybody, right? You've got thousands of companies, Apple, Tesla, some new AI startup. How in the world are you supposed to know which ones are going to be the winners? Well, it turns out one of the most famous and successful investors of all time, Warren Buffett, gave us a really simple answer. He says that for most people, trying to pick individual stocks is a big mistake. Instead, the best thing you can do is just own something called the S&P 500 Index Fund. And what is an index fund? Just think of it like a shopping basket. Instead of running around the grocery store trying to pick out the single best apple, you just buy one pre-made basket that already has a little bit of everything. In this case, small pieces of the 500 biggest companies in America. And here's what that actually looks like. With a single purchase, your money is instantly spread out. So if you put in $1,000, about $64 goes into Apple, $54 into Microsoft, $30 into Amazon, and on and on and on across all 500 of the top companies. You own a tiny slice of the whole market. This completely changes the game. You're not trying to find that one magic needle in a giant haystack anymore. You're just buying the whole haystack. You stop trying to beat the market, and instead, you just invest in the market. You're betting on the entire U.S. economy to grow over time.
Now, buying an index fund is the safe, reliable, slow lane to building wealth. But there's another path, a much faster one. Let's talk about the fast lane. Investing in yourself.
And look at the difference here. It is absolutely staggering. The slow lane, the market might get you an average return of about 7% a year. You build wealth over, 50 years. But the fast lane, that's investing in your own skills, your education, maybe your own side business. The potential return there can be over 100%, and the timeline can shrink from decades down to just a few years. Here's a real-world example. Say a healthcare assistant is making £15 an hour. They spend £100 on a course to become a phlebotomist. Now, they can earn £25 an hour. That tiny investment pays for itself in just 10 hours of work. And after that, it's an extra £10 an hour forever. That kind of return absolutely crushes what the stock market can do. And this same idea applies to starting your own side hustle or business. Instead of giving your money to Apple or Microsoft, you're putting it to work building your own thing, your own asset. When you do that, the potential for growth is in your control, and it's almost always higher than being a passive investor in someone else's company. So let's wrap this all up. What are the big takeaways? First, the problem: inflation is secretly making your savings worth less and less. Second, a super simple solution: an index fund. It takes the guesswork out of it. And third, the really powerful alternative: the fast lane. Investing in you, your skills, your business can deliver the biggest returns you'll ever see. And that brings us to the final question, the one for you to think about. When you look at the